A bespoke suit from Savile Row exemplifies one of the strangest contradictions in the world of luxury. At first glance, it looks almost ordinary. No logos, no flashy accessories, no striking embroidery. Just wool, canvas, and a design so understated that most people on the street would walk past without noticing. Yet, this simple, almost unassuming suit costs between £6,000 to £5,000, more expensive than a luxury watch, more expensive than a year's university tuition. In some cases, more expensive than a new car. How can something so minimalist, sophisticated, and own-branded cost more than the most luxurious designer pieces? Why do world leaders, billionaires, Hollywood icons, and royalty keep returning to this London street to buy suits that, theoretically, they could buy anywhere else? This reveals a real paradox. The simpler the suit, the more expensive it is. The fewer details, the more craftsmanship required. The simpler it looks, the harder it is to make. So what lies beneath that simple exterior? What makes a bespoke suit from Savile Row worth a fortune? Let's unravel this mystery. Savile Row is not just a London street, but the bespoke tailoring capital of the world, where the craft has been perfected for over 2 centuries. It is the birthplace of the modern suit, the tailoring destination of Winston Churchill, European royalty, politicians, billionaires, and Hollywood icons, who quietly return here decade after decade. Each tailor on this street, from Huntsman, Henry Poole Anderson, and Shepherd, carries a heritage, not measured by trends, but by generations. But prestige is only part of the story. Savile Row is also one of the most expensive bespoke tailoring destinations in the world. A standard bespoke suit here typically costs between £4,000 to £6,000, already significantly more than high-end ready-to-wear brands. But for rare fabrics like vicuña or exquisite handcrafted details, the price increases significantly, often reaching between £15,000 to £5,000, and in some cases even more. Yet despite this enormous cost, demand has not disappeared. In fact, waiting lists for suits at some tailors still stretch for months. So the inevitable question is, why is a bespoke suit at Savile Row so expensive? What justifies a price that exceeds many people's annual salaries? This is where the curiosity lies, because behind every stitch is a story rarely known to the world. To understand why Savile Row enjoys such a legendary status today, we must go back to the 18th century. The height of the British Empire, London was becoming one of the world's major centers of power, political, cultural, and military. As its influence expanded abroad, so did the demand for attire that reflected power, discipline, and sophistication. It was in this context that Savile Row quietly emerged as a home to master tailors, artisans capable of creating garments not only for use but also to express identity. The aristocracy commissioned formal attire for court ceremonies. Military officers demanded uniforms with sharp lines and impeccable structure. Diplomats needed suits that conveyed confidence without words. And soon, cultural figures, from writers to performers, joined the ranks of its clients. By the 19th century, Savile Row's reputation was unshakable. Tailors like Henry Poole, credited with creating the modern tuxedo, and Huntsman, renowned for his equestrian-inspired designs, helped shape the world's understanding of elegance. These tailors did more than simply create clothes. They shaped the visual language of power for bespoke Savile Row. Today, every stitch still echoes that past. Savile Row's prestige was not forged. It was built over centuries, woven into a history as profound as the fabrics its artisans used. Behind every bespoke Savile Row suit lies a creative process unlike anything in modern fashion. A slow, meticulous, and entirely handcrafted journey, transforming fabric into a second skin. It begins with a consultation, where the tailor learns not only the client's measurements, but also their lifestyle, posture, preferences, and personality. A suit is not simply for wearing. It must reflect the client's character and fit their movements. From there, the tailor takes precise measurements, typically from 20 to 40 different points on the body. These measurements are then translated into a hand-drawn pattern, a unique design created from scratch. There are no molds, no base patterns, only pure tailoring mathematics and knowledge accumulated over generations. Next is the marking process. a traditional art of using chalk to mark the fabric before hand cutting each piece. This is where even a millimeter by millimeter error can alter the entire shape. The tailor then prepares the lining, base fabric, and structural components that make up the suit's internal structure. The jacket tailor assembles the first version, creating a temporary structure, known as the draft. Next comes the first fitting. The cutter assesses balance, posture, drape, shoulder expression, and overall proportion harmony. Based on this, the pattern is redrawn. The suit is disassembled, recut, and sewn again. The customer returns for a second fitting, where adjustments refine the shape, ensuring the suit moves with the wearer rather than restricting them. Only then does the tailor proceed with the final stitching of the lapels, sleeve attachment, lining, and shaping of the garment using steam and ironing. Finally, there is a last fitting to complete the process. What began as rough fabric now fits as if it were made for the wearer alone. This is why a Savile Row suit is more than just trousers. It is a craft measured in decades, expressed in every centimeter. To understand why a bespoke suit from Savile Row commands such a sky-high price, we must shift from the world of craftsmanship to the world of economics. Because behind every hand-stitched lapel lies a simple yet powerful equation. Scarcity plus skill plus time equals high price. Let's analyze it in detail. First, the number of artisans is extremely limited. Apprenticeship takes 10 to 15 years to master the craft. A tailor or coat maker on Savile Row does not learn their trade in 6 months or even a few years. Typically, they need 10 to 15 years of apprenticeship, hands-on training and guidance from master tailors to reach a high level of expertise. Once they develop the precision needed to cut and shape garments with millimeter accuracy, they are qualified and join a workforce that is inherently very small. Only a few dozen formally trained artisans exist within a reasonable radius of Savile Row. This severe shortage of skilled labor is one of the main reasons driving up prices. To put it simply from an economic standpoint, when the supply of master craftsmen is limited and demand is high, prices are bound to rise. The second reason is the extremely low production volume. Unlike mass-produced garments in factories, which are made in hundreds or thousands of pieces, bespoke suits are made in batches of just a few. A highly efficient jacket tailor can produce between 1 and 3 complete jackets per week, depending on the complexity. A complete suit, including jacket and trousers, typically requires many craftsmen and several weeks of labor. There is no mass production, no assembly lines, no economies of scale. If a tailor suddenly gets 20 new customers, production cannot scale up to meet that demand. Craftsmanship is bound by time, by human hands, and by the limitations of a process that prioritizes perfection over speed. This naturally creates exclusivity, a characteristic that drives prices even higher. The third reason is that Savile Row is 100% handmade in central London, located in Mayfair, one of the most expensive areas in London and arguably the world. The operating costs of a small tailoring workshop, including rent, utilities, workshop space, and employee salaries, are incredibly high. Add to that the decision to produce everything by hand, from stitching and pattern drawing to hand shaping with steam and needles and sewing each button with silk thread. This is a truly labor-intensive process. While machinery saves time and reduces costs in mass production, Savile Row deliberately rejects automation. The hands of the tailor are the technology. As a result, high labor costs, combined with high operating costs, lead to extremely high product prices. The fourth reason is that the materials used are the best in the world. While labor costs account for a large portion of the price, the materials can make a significant leap in cost. Savile Row tailors source fabrics from leading mills worldwide, such as merino wool from Australia and New Zealand, cashmere wool from Mongolia, silk blends designed for drape, and at the highest level vicuña, one of the rarest fibers on earth. Vicuña alone can cost between £1,500 to £1,800 per meter. A suit requires 3 to 3.5 meters, meaning the fabric alone can cost over £5,000 before tailoring even begins. When raw materials cost more than a complete luxury suit from many designer brands, the final price of a bespoke suit becomes understandable. The final reason is the raised canvas fabric and the multi-step fitting process. Most ready-made suits use heat-press canvas structure with an adhesive layer that helps maintain the garment's shape, while allowing for rapid mass production. But Savile Row completely rejects this. Instead, the tailors use a raised lining fabric made from horsehair wool and linen. This lining is hand-stitched and padded into the suit, allowing the garment to conform to the wearer's body over time. Multiple fittings, usually 2 or 3, ensure the suit develops to the client's natural posture and movement. This level of customization cannot be replicated by machines or ready-made tailoring, and it requires dozens of hours of skilled, handcrafted work. In short, a Savile Row suit is expensive because it lies at the intersection of rarity, tradition, and masterful craftsmanship. It is not priced like a fashion product, but rather like a handcrafted service similar to commissioning a sculpture or a painting. Plus the limited number of artisans, minimum production volume, high labor, and location costs, the use of the finest materials, and the multi-stage time consuming process are all factors to consider. This is why a Savile Row suit commands such a high price, and why it continues to hold the top spot in men's tailoring. From its inception to the present day, while numerous arguments have been made to explain why Savile Row is so expensive, it remains at the heart of one of the most compelling debates in the modern luxury industry. In an age dominated by flashy logos, fast fashion, and celebrity-led trends, the idea of spending tens of thousands of pounds on a suit made of canvas and wool seems almost absurd to some. Why pay the price of a luxury car for something that at first glance looks completely unbranded? This question sparks a persistent debate. Is bespoke tailoring overrated? On one hand, critics argue that a bespoke suit is an outdated luxury, that ready-made and modern tailored options are good enough for a fraction of the price. They point to the simplicity of the fabrics, the minimalism of the design, and the fact that the craftsmanship is invisible to most people. On the other hand, proponents assert that bespoke tailoring is more than just clothing. It is an experience, precision, and identity. It is a pursuit of technical perfection, a level of fit and durability unattainable through mass production. This conflict between price and perceived value is what keeps the conversation about Savile Row so lively and compelling. Savile Row is renowned not only for its craftsmanship and high prices, but also as a living symbol of power and elegance and cultural influence. In a world where clothing reflects identity, a Savile Row suit is more than just fabric. It becomes a statement worn by those at the highest echelons of society. From executives and politicians to actors, diplomats, and red carpet icons, Savile Row continues to shape the visual language of leadership and prestige. History provides some of the clearest examples. King Edward VI is often credited with transforming Savile Row into a global fashion powerhouse. In 1860, he commissioned the first tuxedo from Henry Poole and Co., inadvertently creating a trend that spread across continents. King Charles III, formerly Prince of Wales, had a long-standing relationship with Gives and Hawkes, a tailor holding 3 royal warrants and renowned for tailoring uniforms for the Royal Navy. His loyalty further solidified Savile Row's royal prestige. Powerful political figures followed suit. Winston Churchill, the renowned wartime British Prime Minister, entrusted his wardrobe to Henry Poole and Co., solidifying the tailor's position in global political circles. Across the Atlantic, U.S. Presidents Bill Clinton and Ronald Reagan also turned to Savile Row. Clinton favored Jeeves and Hawkes, while Reagan was tailored by H. Huntsman and Sons. Their choices reflected Savile Row's global reputation in formal menswear. Hollywood also showed similar favoritism. Actors such as Gregory Peck, Clark Gable, and Rudolph Valentino relied on Huntsman to create suits that defined classic cinematic style. Sharp, masculine, and timeless, their suits helped shape the image of the leading Hollywood man. Modern stars like Jude Law and David Gandy continue this tradition, frequently appearing in meticulously crafted suits from Henry Poole and Co., proving that bespoke elegance never goes out of style. Savile Row remains important because it offers something the modern world rarely provides: perfection tailored to each individual and only one individual. Looking back at the history, craftsmanship, and economics of Savile Row, we glean several valuable lessons. Lessons that apply not only to tailoring, but also to how we think about luxury value and personal style. The first lesson is simple. True luxury comes from craftsmanship, not from a logo. A Savile Row suit does not rely on initials or a brand name to make its mark. Its value lies in every invisible stitch, every carefully shaped seam, and every hour of effort from artisans who have dedicated decades to perfecting their craft. Luxury is not flashy, it is precision. The second lesson is about patience. Time is the secret to lasting value. A bespoke suit requires weeks and numerous fittings, not because the process is outdated, but because precision cannot be rushed. The things that endure in fashion and in life are often those that are shaped slowly and purposefully. Another important lesson. Choose your tailor as you would choose a friend. You must feel comfortable, understood, and attuned. A tailor is not just someone who makes a suit. They are someone who understands your posture, habits, insecurities, and aspirations. The relationship is just as important as the suit itself. And finally, understand your lifestyle before choosing the material or style. Thick fabric, thin fabric, stiff shoulders, soft shoulders. The perfect suit is one that suits how you live, work, and move in the world. Style begins with self-awareness. As we close this chapter on Savile Row, I invite you to help shape the next chapter. What topic should I analyze next? A luxury brand, a rare material, another wearable piece of craftsmanship. Leave your ideas in the comments. Your suggestions could become the subject of further in-depth analysis.